Adelaide is bordered by the Adelaide Hills to the east, a valuable source of water for drinking, and Gulf St Vincent to the west, the destination for floodwater runoff from the hills and other parts of the Adelaide Plain. For millions of years, water has made its way from the hills to the sea, determining its own course and flooding parts of the plain when natural creeks and channels became overwhelmed. Most of this water did not get to the sea and ended up in extensive wetlands. But what would happen today? We've altered the landscape with housing, roads and other buildings and infrastructure, and in doing so, we've changed the way in which water flows through the landscape of the Adelaide Plain on its way to the sea. Let's look closely at the Brownhill and Keswick Creek catchments to find out. The Brownhill and Keswick Creek's catchment covers a large area from near Eagle on the Hill westwards across the Adelaide Plains towards the airport before reaching the sea via Patawalunga Lake. It includes Brownhill Creek, Keswick Creek, Glen Osmond Creek and Parklands Creek. The way urban development has altered the landscape and the different land uses within these catchments has resulted in different flood behaviour across the area. The Keswick Creek catchment is more urban in nature, and so it's prone to flash flooding from short, heavy bursts of rainfall resulting in a surge of stormwater. The Brownhill Creek catchment differs as it's mainly rural in nature. This catchment is most affected by sustained rainfall. When the rains come, what happens in a 1 in 20-year flood? The 1 in 20-year flood means that it has a 1 in 20 or a 5% chance of occurring in any 1 year. As you can see, floodwaters rise in certain parts of the system, and 2,800 properties are at risk. View now the effects of a 50-year flood. An event of this magnitude will affect more properties. Some 4,200 homes and businesses will suffer effects firsthand, with 1,200 of them facing high risk of water entering dwellings and causing significant damage. Let's now view the effect of a 100-year flood, which means that for every year there is a 1 in 100 chance of a flood of this size occurring. Those are uneasy odds for the 5,000 vulnerable properties in the flood zone on your screen, especially when we know there are actions we can take now to reduce the risks they face. Let's hold the floodwaters in place while we consider some of the most highly effective flood mitigation options being considered. These are the current options, however, they may change as detailed investigations proceed. One of the most effective measures is raising community awareness. This can save lives and property and can be implemented quickly. While these measures will go some way towards mitigating risk, some key engineering actions will provide extra support. Starting high up in the catchment, some detention of floodwaters is planned in the upper reaches of Brownhill Creek to mitigate downstream flooding. Here's an example of how detention could work. This storage would remain below a certain level nearly every day of the year to allow for flood inflows. But in times of flood, water could be expected to pond within the storage for some days. Retaining the floodwater in this manner will allow a managed discharge throughout the lower catchment, which will help prevent flooding. It may also help protect the health of downstream riverine ecology. This storage would reduce the flooding along Brownhill Creek, but not Keswick or Parklands Creeks. A temporary flood storage in the South Parklands would provide important capacity for temporarily absorbing and managing the movement of floodwaters. If this were done whilst also installing a structure near the showgrounds to divert part of the flow from the Keswick Creek to Brownhill Creek, the flood peak in Keswick Creek would be reduced as well. This is possible because of the different nature of flooding in the catchment. Other planned flood mitigation works include upgrading bridges so they don't contribute to flooding by restricting water flows, modifying other storage locations, and enlarging the Brownhill Creek channel downstream of Anzac Highway. This last measure would require acquisition of some private property. So now you have more information about the flood risks facing this catchment area. It's important that people understand these aspects so that fully informed decisions about flood management are made.